We had discussed so many pertinent issues bordering early career, our graduate students, even our final year students. And NYA is not relenting at all. So this year, we are on it again, coming up with very important topic to start the year with. Today, we'll be looking at the issue of plagiarism in academia, issues and consequences around it. And we have very vibrant young professors to be in the room to help us look extensively at these issues. So without taking our time, I will just remind us of few house rules that we already know so that we'll keep this place conducive for this discussion. Remember, this is an interactive session and it's an informal session, so to speak. NYA just want to bring your professors right there to you in an informal setting where you can freely discuss with them, you know, in the universities and all of that, when you want to see your professors, the protocol. But thanks to NYA, making it so easy, where you sit in the comfort of your room and you discuss with your professors. That is so beautiful. So just to help us have a very smooth program, we want to remind you to please keep your microphone muted when you are not speaking. And when you want to speak, you can just indicate by a raise of hand, and we will give you the floor to speak. So please always keep your microphone muted. And as the discussion is going on, if you have questions coming to mind, you don't want to forget them, please feel free to put them down in the chat box. There are people who will be looking at them and taking record of those questions. So feel very free. So drop your questions in the chat box if you feel you will forget them. So without taking our time, we are going right into the program for today. I will share the agenda to help us. I hope you can see my screen. As I earlier said, today we'll be looking at the issue of plagiarism in academia, issues and consequences surrounding it. It's a very, very topical issue now. Those of you in research, you bear with me that it is very important. You know what are the issues surrounding this plagiarism, because right now it can take you to jail. So I will call on the NYA president. I call him the president of presidents. If you want to know, NYA is a community of young, vibrant and smart brains. And for you to lead such a group, you must have something exceptional in you. So you understand why I call our president the president of presidents. So it's my honor to welcome Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim Awal to the floor to make his welcome address.
Thank you so much, Dr. Efenyobi. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you so much. And with that background, I was wondering whether I'm the one or not. Yes. Thank you so much, and it's really my pleasure that we are having this the first edition of the Talk to Your Professors program for the year 2023. And so far, so good. The Talk to Your Professors has been very impactful. We have received so many interesting feedback from the respondents, and they were quite interesting. But most importantly, when we look at the topic for today, plagiarism in academia, I want to just take us back a bit to also remind us that anti-plagiarism workshops and issues around plagiarism has been very, very one of the most important features or programs of the NYA, because in the last decade, NYA has organized dozens of anti-plagiarism workshops, webinars across so many institutions in Nigeria. And most importantly, also, the effort of the NYA in promoting anti-plagiarism activities in Nigeria has so far even appeared in top publishing outlets like Nature, like Science. They have all reported on specifically on NYA's effort in combating plagiarism in Nigeria. So to the participants, I want to inform you that you are going to hear from the experts today as far as plagiarism is concerned, because as far as the records, available records indicate that NYA has so far been the leading organization in promoting anti-plagiarism in the entire Nigeria. So far, that is the available record. And so I want to assure you, you are going to listen or hear from the experts in the field, people that are well versed in the area, and I'm sure we are going to learn a lot. So that is to the participants. I welcome all of you, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy this session. And most importantly, after you have listened to them, please, as much as possible, try to implement all the good things you have heard from them. So I thank the participants for taking their time to be with us this afternoon, and also to the speakers, Professor Ashawali, who has always been our pillar, supporting us from every single angle as far as the academy is concerned. Thank you so much, sir. And to Associate Professor Stephen Adefega, my very good friend, thank you so much, sir, for being in this, and I'm glad that you are taking up to be with us this afternoon. To Dr. Adegum, a very dependable and reliable person, an expert in this area as well. I'm sure we are going to, I thank you, sir, so much for honoring the invitation, and I'm sure we are going to learn a lot. To all the members of the committee, I really thank you, and I will look forward to a very interesting webinar as we proceed. Like I said to the participants, please feel free, enjoy the session, like what Dr. Afeni Obi said, and ask questions freely. This is not a classroom, this is not in a university. Ask them free questions. In fact, you can ask them what are the bad things they also did in the course of running away from plagiarism, so that you learn, and just feel free and ask. This is for you to eventually take home something that it will be very relevant for your careers. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Efenyobi, and I trust that we are going to have a very wonderful session. Thank you, and God bless NYA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That is my president of presidents. You understand why I said NYA president is addressed as president of presidents. Huh? Thank you very much, Dr. Awal. Without taking our time, we'll go right into the interactive session. But before then, we are going to give each of the panel extensively interact on those issues. So I will take the citation of our first speaker before he will give us his own background and understanding of the issue of interest we are discussing. And that is the person of Professor O.S. Asaolu. All right. Professor Olumiyuwa Sunday Asaolu obtained a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Lagos in 1991. From the same institution, he earned master's degree in engineering analysis and a doctorate degree in engineering analysis in 2002. As only recipient till date. Wow, Wonderful. He was a trainee civil systems engineer with Zentech Nigeria Limited before joining the engineering faculty of University of Lagos in 1995. He was an exchange student at the doctoral level at the University of Oklahoma, USA in 1999, and a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Tennessee in USA between November 2003 and October 2005. He is currently a full professor of systems engineering at University of Lagos. He has successfully supervised and mentored several doctoral candidates. Professor Asolu served as the acting head of the department between August 2010 and July 2012, and again between August 2014 and July 2017. His research interests and publications cover artificial intelligence, systems modeling and analysis. He has conducted and published original work in mathematics modeling and artificial intelligence. He is a recipient of several scholarly awards, including Nigerian Best Researcher Software Developer in 2001, the World Academy of Sciences and Inter-Academy Panel Young Scientists for 2009, in 2009. His research team has obtained a patent for laughter as a biometric. Prof, please, I'm interested in this one. He is a registered engineer and member and fellow of several professional bodies. He's a renowned ICT consultant and a regular contributor to the African Union AI Experts workshops. His hobbies include music, reading, chess, and writing of religious articles, and I add, laughing. He is married and blessed with children. Permit me to welcome Professor Sunday Asolu to give us his own brief on the issue of plagiarism. He will be talking to us on the concepts, the types, and characteristics and causes of plagiarism. Prof, please, you have the floor now. I hope he's in the room. Is Prof in the room? I still cannot hear him.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, thank you, Prof. You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I said thank you to NYA in general and the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to be one of the panelists. It's my pleasure, to always contribute to the academy in any way or form as the Lord enables me. Today we are looking at plagiarism in academia, issues and consequences. And in particular, I'll be talking about concepts of plagiarism. I'll simply, structure my talk around the definition, the concepts of plagiarism, the causes of plagiarism, detection of plagiarism, as well as the conclusion. And of course, I'll cite the two materials that I consulted while preparing for this occasion. So plagiarism is using an entity's work without attribution. It could be one's personal material or the creation of another human or AI system, because these days it's not only humans that now do scholarly works. We even have AI machines like ChatGPT, which is creating a voice And of course, there's a controversy whether he's actually also guilty of plagiarism. That's another debate on this. But the important thing is that for true scholarship, there should be referencing. In other words, one should give adequate credit to an original author or creator of an intellectual material. It's quite important. In educational and legal settings, there is what we call the fair use clause, which permits reproducing, distributing, and making use of another's material for non-profit purposes. Nevertheless, even that concept expects one to give adequate credit and make disclosure about the origin of authorship of any material being used. In fact, in certain cases, prior permission ought to be obtained. For instance, when one is reproducing an image or using a substantial amount of copyrighted material in a new publication, it's not just good, it's the right and ethical thing to do. In fact, direct quotations or extensive paraphrases, whenever such are employed, the source should be cited. I mean, there is a reason why the copyright notice in virtually all materials usually states, quotes, no part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without the permission of the author, unquote. You know, and I take that from the inaugural lecture series of the University of Lagos. You know, that's the standard phrase that the publisher puts in most, copyrighted material. So we are saying that not only even written material may be plagiarized, even oral remarks could be. Interestingly, I mean, I once made an innovative suggestion at a conference, in 2005 in Morocco. Only that about 6 months later, some Russians went ahead to patent it and develop a product around it. And they sent me an email to thank me. I mean, you can imagine, I wasn't all that aware about patenting and what have you around that time. So it's important to carefully have our ideas protected by copyrights or even by patents where applicable, before we release such into the public domain. Once you have that, you have some level of protection and can always challenge someone who uses your work in an authorized manner. Now, what are the causes of plagiarism? Plagiarism may be due to one or a combination of several factors, such as ignorance, laziness, wickedness, pride, hypocrisy, and so on. Some people are just not really informed about how necessary it is. And those who are culturally or academically not familiar with saying, please, may I, or saying thank you for little things. People take things for granted too much. They have a sense of entitlement and somehow feel like it doesn't really matter, it doesn't count, people shouldn't bother. But people do bother because they invested their time, their intellect, their resources into producing, artistic and scholarly works, entertainment works, and what have you. So it's just honorable and proper, to give adequate credit to the original authors of any work. Many don't know how wrong it is to use another's work without adequate recognition or disclosure. So they need to be taught. That's on the part of ignorance and what have you. But some are just simply too laid back or lazy, They don't want to bother about doing proper referencing or feel pressured that they need to quickly produce something for submission somewhere. Either they are trying to meet a target to have certain number of publications for promotion or this or that. And they just feel, oh, I need to do this thing quickly. I need to turn out something and all that. So they don't want to take the time to do the proper research, do the proper documentation. But it's better to do things the right way because it can always bounce back or backfire. Now, others may simply want to take the glory for ideas that are stolen, which they assume is being borrowed and that nobody will know. But again, like our elders say in Africa, every day for the thief, one day for the owner. Why not just do the right thing? If you are borrowing an idea, let people know exactly what is yours and what you are borrowing. Nobody knows it all. That's why it's called research. You are searching out of what others have searched before and have found out. So you are just simply going to extend, what is being done, and somebody else will carry on from where you also stop. Now, what are the consequences of plagiarism? Plagiarism essentially diminishes one's esteem when exposed, both the self-esteem of the individual as well as the person's work in the sight of others. This is because it constitutes a danger to academic integrity, as it more or less robs Peter to pay Paul. In fact, it amounts to a misconduct and could have serious repercussions, which could range from warning to suspension to demotion, depending on the severity and the particular context, of a given case. Oftentimes, plagiarism is detected due to occurrence of certain phrases which seem a bit out of place within a writing style. I mean, that's very easy for experienced educators when you are reviewing your students' submissions. You just find some sentences that this construction is not this person's style or is way above their level and all that. You just know something is not right. You don't see it adequately referenced. At times, it could also be because the reviewer examiner is familiar with the source material of the original work. So if somebody else tries to pass it off as his own, that could also be detected. And these days, technology has made it a bit easier. Plagiarism may also be detected via proofing tools like plagiarism checkers, many of which are banned today as subscription services. A very popular one is Turnitin. And I think that's the one my university Unilag subscribed to. Although at times they have problems with their licensing, but I think they just did that of recent. There are also free tools, like Plagiarism, Paperita, Grammarly, CopyLeaks, Plascan, according to Adam Wiener. So in conclusion, plagiarism should be avoided. One should make deliberate effort to always give credit for other people's work, even if it's your own work. Insofar as you published it before, it's out there. If you are using it again, you need to cite it. That's self-referencing. And you should do that only when it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it's also not too good. But when it's unavoidable, one should cite it and not just assume, this is my own. No. So long as something is already out there published and you are referring to it, then give it the proper citation that it deserves. Another issue is that plagiarism should be addressed whenever it is detected. And when necessary, it should be penalized, not overlooked. That's the only way to promote honesty, smart work, and hard work. Otherwise, some people will think they are being clever and that they can get away with anything. But true scholars are those who know their own limitations and truly acknowledge that they stand upon the shoulder of giants, as Isaac Newton said. Thank you for the attention. I think I want to stop here for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to believe our audience are getting so much from the presentation, the discussion that Prof has just given us, that even your own work, your previously published work, you must also recognize yourself, cite yourself when you're using them. And I want to also believe you've heard some of the consequences. It could even lead to suspension, and in some places, sack, depending on the severity. So it's something that we have to really, really take serious because of the consequences surrounding it. So without taking our time, I will invite our second speaker to the floor, in the person of Associate Professor Stephen Adefaya. Is going to talk to us in 8 minutes on the effects of plagiarism on academic research and publication and ways to avoid it. It is very important that you learn how you can avoid plagiarism. But before we hand him over the microphone, I will quickly take his citation. Sorry, Prof. Please allow me to take your citation before you begin to speak. All right. Associate Professor Stephen Adefaya is of the Department of Biochemistry at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, in Nigeria. He obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in biochemistry from the University of Ado-Ekiti. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yeah, yes.
All right,
We
thank
can
you.
hear you.
Okay, thank you. He won a sandwich training educational program by the Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics and International Atomic Energy Agency for 3 successive years, 2010 to 2012, at the University of Trieste in Italy. He was awarded an Education Trust Fund scholarship by the federal government of Nigeria on pre-doctoral fellowship at the Technical University of Dresden in Germany in 2012 to 2013. In 2014, he bagged a Doctor of Philosophy in Applied Biochemistry from the Federal University of Technology, Akure in Ondo State in Nigeria. He had a postdoctoral training at the Department of Biochemical Toxicology, Federal University of Santa Maria in Brazil, and a visiting scholar to the same institution from 2019 to 2020. His research interests focus on the critical role of food and food bioactive compounds in disease prevention and health promotion. This focus is immensely contributing towards the core values and innovations in the areas of functional foods, phytomedicine, and molecular nutrition. Dr. Adefaya has supervised several undergraduate and postgraduate students. He has published about 150 articles in referred journals and contributed as reviewer in several scientific journals. He also has 2 patents to his credit. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Adefaya to speak to us on how we can avoid plagiarism. Doc, please, you have the floor now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is
Adefea Stephen Adeni, and I'll be speaking on the topic titled Effects. I want to share my slide. Effect of plagiarism on academic research and publication. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate the first speaker, Professor Ashaolu, for doing justice to the topic. And I want to appreciate the organizer for inviting me. And I acknowledge the leadership of our academy for this unique initiative. All right, I would like to speak on this first slide, is on where a professor was trying to tell a student that the facts that the students have presented were entirely copied from the internet. So in other words, not all materials from the internet are actually right. Thank you. Now, I'm going to follow this outline. Academic research, definition of academic research, publication and plagiarism, salient features of plagiarism, implication of plagiarism on research, impact of plagiarism on academic publication, how to avoid plagiarism, and then I'm going to conclude. Now, what academic research is. Peradventure, we need to put this straight. What academic research is. Academic research is a systematic and creative work undertaken to increase the body of knowledge. And of course, it involves collection, organization, analysis, data, information, in order to increase understanding of a topic or subject area. In other words, when we talk about research, our aim should be new ideas, new information, in fact, novelty. Of course, innovation as well. We are also talking about enhancing or modifying the body of knowledge via method modification, techniques, ideas of how they are done and how they should be done. Okay. Now, the next slide shows academic publication. What is actually academic publication? Academic publication is a readily available piece of information, an artifact, a write-up, which has passed through a peer review process. Very important. A publication must have passed through a peer review process. Of course, it could be original, it could be a review article, a monogram, and the likes. Now, predatory journals defy these principles of peer review. Of course, in some journals, you just submit and publish. Now, plagiarized materials are well honored, they are well accepted in these predatory journals, and I'm sure that anyone on this platform wouldn't want to publish articles in these predatory and gutter journals. Now, I'll talk about plagiarism. The earlier Professor Ashaolu had spoken on plagiarism extensively, but I'd like us to also highlight some of the points he spoke about. Plagiarism is the act or practice of presenting work such as images, ideas, pictures from another source and claiming credit for them with or without consent of the original author. Of course, it involves incorporating others' ideas, images, information, illustration, works into one's work without full acknowledgement. Without full acknowledgement. I move on to the next slide. Salient features of plagiarism. What are the salient features of plagiarism? Number one is unethical practice. It's a practice that is unethical. It is inimical to academic quality and academic integrity. Another salient features of plagiarism is the fact that it's an academic theft. And of course, one will be infringing on another author's rights. then the author that has plagiarized loses credibility. That author loses credibility. Another salient feature of plagiarism is the fact that the work is no longer original, is not fresh, is not original, no novelty, no addition to the body of knowledge. Now, let's look at the implication of plagiarism on research. What is the implication? Number one, it compromises quality. Academic quality is enhanced by originality. So when an individual engages in plagiarism, it compromises quality, it kills, it sacrifices innovation. Innovation is sacrificed on altar slab, on a slab that a slab that is not worth it. Now, no originality, no novelty. It also involves circulation of old ideas, methods, procedures, skills, techniques are just circulated. No new thing, no addition, no transformation, no new thing coming into the body of knowledge. And of course, authors lose their credibility. Now, what is the impact of plagiarism on publication? Now, we must understand the fact that publication is the output of research. The moment the research is not a quality one, definitely the kind of publication that will emanate from such research will be wishy-washy, will be something that should be thrown in the dustbin. So publication is the output of rigorous research. And of course, the impact it has on publication is that, for example, if someone has plagiarized a material and that individual is caught, the paper could be retracted. So they could be retracted from the publishing house, from the journal. In fact, that individual can be blacklisted. That individual can be exposed to litigation and legal issues. You know, that person can be taken to court. Now, the author's reputation and credibility will be affected. Subsequently, even if that person has done an original work, you know, there will be some level of doubt on whether that individual had conducted an original research. Now, it's also an intellectual theft. It is just stealing, taking what does not belong to you. So another one is the loss of academic funding. Now, good research emanates from funding, getting donor bodies to fund a particular research. The moment this funding body realize that one has plagiarized a particular material, definitely, you know, plagiarize a material that is published, they answer, they withdraw their funding. Another thing is job loss. Now, I'd like to talk on how to avoid this cancer called plagiarism. How do we avoid it? Number one, we must understand the available body of information. We must do thorough literature search. We must be conversant with literature. We must read and understand literature, available information as regards that subject matter. Number two, we must modify methods, procedure, and techniques in research. You know, in an attempt to copy and paste, most times we forget to modify methods. Now, in research, a particular method is not absolute. We can modify that method to suit our environment. We can modify that method, you know, in terms of biological science. You talk about pH, you talk about temperature, you talk about a number of factors that can be modified so that you can give some novelty to the work. Now, the third one is we should not copy verbatim. Text, images, pictures, illustration, and ideas. We must avoid verbatim. Copy and paste should be avoided. Another thing we need to do to avoid it is accurate paraphrasing. Information from literature should be read and then written in your own words. You read and then you write in your own words. Citation, quotation, referencing should be done appropriately. Sentences should be properly cited, quoted, and referenced. Now, the use of anti-plagiarism software to check for similarity index is also very important. Turnitin, authenticate, Grammarly, Business, Code Test, unit checks, and others should be used in order to know the level of similarity and quickly do the needful. In conclusion, I like to say that plagiarism is like cancer to academic research and publication. Of course, it has eaten, voraciously into the fabrics of academic quality. Hence, must be avoided by all and sundry. Method modification, procedural change can help to reduce similarity index in academic research and publication. And of course, the use of anti-plagiarism software can help in this manner in reducing similarity index to a large extent. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Doc, for that very, very insightful presentation. Honestly, I love that word, cancer. It's like cancer. Something that destroys your self-image as a researcher, destroys your reputation. I think is what calling cancer is cancerous. So it's something we should try to avoid at all costs. Thank you very much. Thank you for that presentation. Please, I hope I'm still on. Can you still hear me?
Sure. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right, thank you. So before we go into the interactive session, we will have the last speaker speak to us on the consequences and laws guiding plagiarism. And before he does that, I will first of all take his citation, a very brief one. Dr. Olumuyiwa Adegun. He's a senior lecturer in the Department of Architecture at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, in Nigeria. He's also visiting research fellow in the School of Architecture and Planning, University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, in South Africa. And since 2021, he is an affiliate of the African Academy of Sciences. His scholarly interests focus on environmental sustainability in urban areas of sub-Saharan Africa, especially with respect to low-income housing, such as slums and informal settlements. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Adegun to please give us his presentation on laws guiding plagiarism. Doc, you have the floor now.
Very good afternoon to everyone, and sending my appreciation to the organization of this session, the Talk to Your Professor session. Also thanks to the leadership of the NYE, and I consider it a great privilege to share with everyone here on plagiarism, the laws guiding it, and consequences. I would essentially be building on what earlier speakers have said. Professor Ashalu has laid the foundation on what plagiarism is. Professor Adefega has also spoken on the impacts of plagiarism in the context of publication. I would be running through laws and giving examples on consequences of plagiarism. This topic is actually very relevant because plagiarism is a big problem today. Plagiarism is academic dishonesty. And in a lecture presented by the former NUC Executive Secretary, Professor Kebukola, in 2018, he said 60% of final year projects or the long essays, whatever it's called, are plagiarized. This wouldn't be far from the truth. 15 to 20% at the master's degree level, 8% at the PhD level. This wouldn't be far from the truth. And it paints a very bad picture of what is happening. So it's very relevant that we are talking about this. I would add to the background we've already received because this background we need this background to understand the aspect of the law regarding plagiarism. Plagiarism is different from copyright infringement. Currently in Nigeria, plagiarism is not a criminal offense. So you can't take your friend to court for copying your assignment in school. You can only take him to court when he infringes on your copyright, and copyright is when it's registered within the Copyright Commission or other forms of registration of intellectual property, as it usually applies to things like books, works of art, music, and images and things like that. So plagiarism is essentially a moral issue. You can't invoke a legal perspective to it. Generally now, you would understand the context as we move on. But copyright infringement is a legal issue. But both is taking other people's work without their permission and passing it off as yours. So it's wrong. It's nothing right. And it's not been encouraged. It all leads to negative consequences. For example, the Nigerian Copyright Act, which provides for the guidance on copyright issues, also provides for the establishment of the Copyright Commission and its operations, as a provision of fine or imprisonment for anyone violating copyright material, either you are selling music already produced or books, or any material that is copyrighted, there is a law against it. So you either go to jail or you pay a fine. Or not just reproducing it, maybe you're renting it.
Well, I think we lost him.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Network
Weather is
issue.
actually very bad. He's back. He's back.
Oh, sorry.
He's back.
Yes. I'm sorry about the break in the network. I'm not sure what happened, but I'll have to switch off my videos so that okay. It's not a problem again. Okay, so I was on the aspect of the Copyright Act in Section 20, which says anyone violating Copyright Act can be fined, would be fined. Then you can take the person to court, or it can also involve imprisonment, not exceeding 2 years. So that guides against copyright infringement, under which you can put plagiarism. So if you take a piece of music that is for someone else and use it as yours in any form of production you've made without attribution, without permission, then it's a problem. You can go to jail for that. But beyond the Copyright Act, there is no legal document, legal in the sense of national legal document that is against plagiarism. You talk of, sorry, I'm not sure what's wrong with what's happening with my slides. Please let me reshare them. Okay, I hope you can see my slides now.
Yes.
Okay, good. So beyond the Copyright Act, other documents or laws guiding plagiarism are context specific, based within institutions or related to certain entities. So each organization or each institution makes different laws regarding plagiarism to say, if you do this, this is the consequence. If you do this form of plagiarism, that is the consequence. And it ranges from what you find in your staff handbook or your student handbook. Some institutions have policy, specific policy on intellectual property or specific policy on plagiarism. I would show you the example of a university. Some have specific issues dealing with it, from bulletins which they release from time to time, or press release, or decision extract from things like the Senate meetings or council meetings. So you find all the different provisions for plagiarism in some of these documents, and they are specific to those institutions. So if you belong to that institution, either as a student, either as a staff, or maybe a consultant, whatever, you are subject to those laws. Let me take an example which I found online. Most of the laws regarding these institutions for the Nigerian context are not available online, but I got this one from the National Open University, which has a deliberate policy on plagiarism. And this is a screenshot of the page dealing with penalties. So the first time when you have plagiarized beyond the approved 30%, then you get a warning. Either you're a student or a staff. If you're recycling previous work, maybe you've published here, you think this is a bad journal, or why did I send my work here? You send it to another journal and it's published. So your work is appearing in two places. That's an example of recycling previous work. Then you get a warning based on their law. If you do it again, you get a suspension. And then it could go up to dismissal, expulsion, or things like withdrawal of certificates. So this is the law for this university, the Open University. Other universities have the laws, different laws. For example, the University of Lagos. I know Professor Ashalo would be aware of this. This release came in March 2021, 2 years ago, and dealt, I think they had to update the sanctions for academic misconduct. And I've highlighted that on plagiarism. So if a student is caught plagiarizing in the University of Lagos, it will be expelled, irrespective of the kind of plagiarism, which is different from what happens in the Open University. So it depends on the institution. This is the University of Ibadan. This is an extract from the council meeting, which says any staff caught plagiarizing would be dismissed from the 2014 meeting. So it takes it serious. We don't want our staff to plagiarize. And if you are caught, you will be dismissed from the university.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm not sure what's the problem with the network today. So I'll just carry on from where I stopped. I'm apologies about all this.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess I gave the example of the University of Lagos, where if you are found plagiarizing any content, you'll be expelled. As a student in the University of Ibadan, if you are plagiarizing as a staff, you'll be dismissed based on the council decision. which was made in 2014. So this example is from a journal, the Nigerian Journal of Life Sciences. I think it's based on the University of Benin. It also has a plagiarism policy. Remember, I said it's specific to each entity, whether it's an institution or it's an organization. So if there is a case of plagiarism against an article after it's published, there will be investigation. If the investigation is positive in terms of there is plagiarism, then the author's institution will be contacted, the funders for the work will be contacted, and there will be a release in terms of the article to show the plagiarism extent and also to retract it. It could get to the extent of retracting, but the article will be marked to show that this article contains plagiarized content. And of course, that is not good for anyone in his career. So this is the last part of my presentation, and I'm just going to run through examples of people who have suffered negative consequences of plagiarism. A few from Nigeria, the most from outside. So I'll just run through because I know I'm almost beyond the 8 minutes given. So the first case is a student in a university in South Africa, in the School of Architecture and Planning, who copied an assignment. And he had to face the committee, the disciplinary committee, and it was ruled that the student would be awarded 0 for that course, and then he will be excluded. Excluded means he will be suspended from the university for 1 year. So he has to go and rest for a while, and then he would come back to continue his program. So that's based on the law in that institution for students. Of course, this is not good. This second case is that of a PhD thesis written at Kenyatta University. There is a woman who worked on First Ladies. She's a lecturer at, I think it's in Sokoto. And she wrote on First Ladies in Nigeria, very good PhD thesis based on her explanations. And then there's this guy in Kenyatta University in the Department of History, who also wrote on First Ladies in Kenya. But a good part of his thesis was copied from this Nigerian lecturer's thesis. And he passed his thesis, he was awarded his degree. Then this woman saw one of the publications from this Kenyan lecturer and then saw obvious similarities with what she did. And then she had to write the institution over there to say, no, there's a problem. And the Kenyan institution decided to investigate. It took some time, and then it investigated. The guy whose PhD was withdrawn, and then he was sacked as a lecturer in the university. That's a consequence. And it could be vice versa, because based on some of the provisions across different institutions in Nigeria, if such is reported, definitely the degree might be withdrawn and such a person would be dismissed. So this is another case, even at a higher level for a PhD thesis. And I just need to note this, that the sack of this guy was reported in the newspapers. Interestingly, I was in Kenya that week, and I was just reading the newspapers, and I saw the news of a lecturer whose thesis was withdrawn and was sacked because he plagiarized a Nigerian scholar. So I really was interested, and I read about it. So it's definitely nothing good for anyone's career. So you also have this newspaper reports on University of Calabar lecturers that some were dismissed, some were demoted, administrative positions, or undertaking some administrative responsibilities because of the problem of plagiarism and, of course, financial fraud. But plagiarism was the major problem which they had. So these are some of the consequences that could come out of plagiarism. The last two are not from Nigeria, and they happen at a higher level, which which is a lot, brings a lot of lessons for us, particularly as young academics. This first case happened in Durham University in the UK. So you have this professor who had written an article in 1988 when he was still working at Brunel University, also in the UK. And much of what he wrote was lifted from some other people's work written in 1983 by an American student and 2 Israeli academics. So the work was written in 83, he wrote his in 88, but this issue came up a lot later, many years when he was already a professor. Also in his PhD thesis, which he earned from York University, also in the UK, the introduction was very identical to articles by another American academic. So he copied other people's work without attributing. And this was discovered. He was already a professor, he was even a dean, but he was shamed out of the university because of that. Much later, this happened about 20 years after. After the copying, and maybe he was aware or he was not aware, but it was a shame. The last case, which is very similar to it, and it's much around 2002, and this was the vice chancellor of Australia's biggest university. He had to step aside when this plagiarism allegation came up. He had written a book in 1976, compare 1976 to 2002 when this came up. So because of the prayer, according to him, because of the prayer, he didn't adequately acknowledge other people's work in the book. He also wrote another book later where they could identify 20 sentences directly quoted from another book, and he did not acknowledge those sources. And this became a problem to him. He was investigated, even while he was a vice chancellor, and was asked to leave because of the problem of plagiarism. So this is clearly not a good thing. And I would conclude by saying plagiarism can kill your career. It can kill one's career. We need to avoid it. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Adegun, for that very enlightening and
over to you.
I've already taken over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that very enlightening presentation. You know, while he was speaking, a lot of things were just going on in my mind. I know as early career, many of us, you don't even know the laws that are there in your institution regarding this plagiarism. So the examples he just cited, they are not just particular to those institutions. I think I will advise that when you go back, you also get to know what guideline your institution have regarding this plagiarism of a thing, because it's a very serious issue, something that can destroy your career, something that can destroy the image you have put in so much to build. And mind you, with internet availability now, it has changed the narrative. Something you can, a small offense you can commit in your little corner in a matter of a minute could spread around the globe. So you can't hide anywhere. So it's very important we take this issue seriously. So without taking our time, this is the moment we've been waiting for, the interactive section, where we can now ask our questions. I don't know if there are hands that are already up, but before we take those hands, I think we already have some questions in the chat box. Okay, I will take the very first question here. That is from Kufre Abasi. The question he's asking, 1, for students who do not have money to register with top plagiarism checking software, how do they bypass plagiarism? That is his first question. He also have another question. Some free software will tell one 10%, while the other 25%. How does one work around these tools with diverse outputs for effective results? Our panelists, please, I hope you're taking note of the question. Then the final question from him is, could you suggest helpful software for plagiarism checks? That is from Kufre Abasi. I don't know if any of our panelists will want to attend to his question before we give those raising their hands the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
I think our second speaker.
Yes, can I?
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you for the questions. The first question say that for students who do not have money to register with top plagiarism checking software, how do they bypass? Okay, I will discourage bypassing. Okay, I will encourage you send your material, your manuscript to a collaborator abroad to help you check with using a software. You don't have money, but you don't have money to check here, but maybe your friend, maybe a mentor, a collaborator, could have access. Maybe their university had registered for this, they have institutional registration. You can do that, okay? But I wouldn't encourage that you bypass. I don't know the meaning of bypass, but you don't need to bypass anything. Just do the right thing. Thank you. The second question, for free software, some free software will say 10% plagiarism, or yes, this is common. This is common. Some anti-plagiarism software could pick 10%, another could pick 20%. However, the feature, the particular feature that this anti-plagiarism software picks, okay? Some picks repetition of a particular sentence and some things. So there are certain features. But of course, from experience, our advice Turnitin, our advice Authenticate, and some others, okay? Now, the third question said, sir, could you suggest helpful, okay, which I've done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, I will take one more question from the chat box before I give the hand up opportunity to speak. Sorry, I'm trying to get the question. Okay, this is from Belu, Mr. Belu. The question is, do journals check manuscripts submitted for plagiarism before publishing? Also, can an article fail a plagiarism check on a particular software and pass on another? All right, so please, any of our panelists, or permit me to call on...
I can take that.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, these days, most journals do check for plagiarism level in manuscripts, even before they send it out to reviewers. That's more or less the standard practice for journals that are well set up. And it's not so much a question of pass or fail as such, but of the threshold. Because what happens is that each journal has its own policy. Okay, maybe your
I think we lost him. Is it from my end?
So if your content is so similar with unreferenced portions, and you exceed the threshold, then it will be flagged and you'll be told if you need to tone it down or if they're going to reject it outright, depending on the extent. So most journals do check for plagiarism. Please, what's the other part of the question?
Say, can an article fail a plagiarism check on a particular software and pass on another?
Yes, even the other speaker has alluded to that, because as we've said, these things are based on thresholds and the extent and capability of each software. But the important thing to look out for is the highlighted portion, what is detected. This is something that really matters, because at times too, some of these checkers may flag something that is not really your rescue editor to the reviewer. You can also make a case that, look, what's being classified as plagiarism is not really plagiarism. This is standard material. This is known and quoted by everyone, and so on and so forth. So you can also make a case, but it's the treasure that matters. The moment you see what is highlighted, check whether you really have used someone's material, either deliberately or inadvertently without citing it, and make proper references. But if you think you have a case, you can always, defend yourself. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. I think before we continue to take questions from the chat box, let's give the hand up the opportunity to speak. This is an interactive session. You are free to put your hand up and ask your questions directly. So let's have Endurance. Uzobo, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Whether it's a question, contribution, please unmute yourself and speak. Endurance.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to appreciate all the prof for their wonderful presentation. However, I have certain questions which I've been dying to ask even before this program came up. I have about 5 of them. I'll start with the last one.
Wow.
The first question I want to ask is, before most of us got the knowledge about this plagiarism, and we are even learning new things from what the profs have given so far, we had already published out of ignorance. So we still have people have papers that are out there that did not follow the rule of ensuring that we adhere to the plagiarism rule. So we have such papers. What do we do to those papers? And that's the step we can take to retrieve those papers because they're already out there. What do we do to them? Because obviously they are not meeting the standard. So what do we do to those papers? That's question 1. Question 2, it's what should be the limitation of citation? From my experience or observation, since they say plagiarism, people just keep copying different person's work and they cite it. And at the end of the whole paper, you discover they have little or no contribution to the paper they claim to be writing. However, they've made their citations properly. So shouldn't there be a limitation to citation because you want to beat plagiarism or because you want to keep to the rule of plagiarism? Then the next question is it possible for us to use a previous chapter or an article? Probably we want to write a book and we had a chapter that might be very relevant to the book we want to write. Can we use the chapter? If yes, what are the processes we are supposed to follow in using the chapter to be part of the book that we want to write? Then the next question, the 4th one, is I heard the prof talking about predatory journals, and he mentioned that they don't follow the review process. So I want to ask, is it only the review process that makes an article to be a predatory journal? That is, if the journal rather doesn't follow the review process, is that the only thing that makes it a predatory journal, or there are other criteria? If there are other ones, I think you should also let us know. Then finally is the issue of self-plagiarism. We've also discovered that a whole lot of persons just take different of their materials and form different articles. I've seen that severally. You see people that are writing articles, they just pick different of their materials and nothing is new. If you check the whole content of the article, you discover that it's different aspect of their material they just use in forming different journals. So what should be the extent of self-plagiarism? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Endurance, for that loaded questions. Please, I'll give the panelist opportunity to attend to his questions now. I just want to leave it free for the panelists. I don't want to maybe assign questions to you. Anyone, you just feel free, you want to answer, please.
Maybe I can take a few, and I know my other colleagues would address any gaps I'm leaving behind. But before I address the question by Endurance, I think Endurance came prepared, which is good. He had 5 questions. It just sounds like what we give in exams, but it's really interesting. I want to highlight the limitation of software. I know there have been a couple of questions about softwares. I think softwares are good, but they have their obvious limitations because it works based on what you have online. So if you plagiarize from a book that is not available online, the software would never pick it, and then someone else may pick it. So we need to understand that you don't over rely on softwares to think I've written it's 9%, it's 10%. Just be as safe as much as possible. I think that's what I would say, because softwares have their own limitations. So let me just take a few of the questions. There is a question about already plagiarized articles, maybe articles you feel, oh, I just wrote this when I was still learning, and there are obvious issues. I'm aware that some journals, like I said, it depends on the entity you are dealing with, but I'm aware that some journals would allow you to self-retract your work. So if after some time you feel this is wrong, some journals will allow you to write yourself and say, for this reason, I want to retract this article. They would have a policy to do that. So I think it's good if really they allow that and anyone wants to do that, because you're already disowning that work before someone comes to use it against you in future. And if it's already self-retracted, it's disowned, I'm not sure the kind of punitive measure or consequences wouldn't be as when that has not been disowned. So I know it's possible to do that. And depending on the policy of the journal, if there is no policy, it would be best to seek counsel first, so you don't just do something in an easy way that would lead to something bad. Seek counsel from senior scholars with integrity, and then you can also write the editors depending on the context. But like I said, the different policies and guidelines are specific to different entities. I would speak about the use of your previous work in a book. I think that is allowed, but you need to seek for permission. So if you've written, maybe from your thesis, you already wrote 2 journal articles, and after a few years, you want to write a book from the thesis, and you will be drawing substantially from your thesis and from what you reproduce with permission, because you will then have to acknowledge that this work has been earlier published in this place, but it's still based on their policy. Read their policy. If it's not clear, write the editors. I'm writing a book, consult the publishers as well, because they may also have policies on reproducing your own previous work. But I've seen people do that, and they would generally acknowledge that like a substantial part of this chapter came from my thesis, which had been published in X and Y, and they put that as a, but the attribution matters, and that would depend on the context. The issue of citation, maybe I'll just address the issue of citation. I'll leave the rest to my colleagues to speak to. The issue of citation, yes, of course, you find people who oversight, permit me to use that word. But maybe it's the other extreme of plagiarism. People who oversight, of course, that should also be, editors and reviewers speak on that and would say, this is really not necessary. That is really not useful here. So it's good, it's necessary to avoid it, but the extreme is not to which could amount to plagiarism. Yeah, so we need to keep the balance. I think that's what I would end with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think you've been able to address all his questions. Am I correct? Is there any of his questions that is not attended to? I think you've been able to address it.
Okay.
Okay, the issue of predatory journals. I know Professor Ade Fergus spoke about it, so maybe you might want to address that question on the review process and maybe self-plagiarism as well. I didn't address those two.
Okay. So Dr. Stephen, please.
All right. As regards predatory journals, I was trying to say that predatory journals survive on plagiarized material. Why? Because they actually want to publish right just as it is submitted. They want to publish as soon as possible without going through the review process. That's not the reason, that's not the only reason why they are predatory. That's not the reason why we call them predatory journals. One of the reasons is that their interests, they have monetary interests. They are interested in monetary gain, and that's the reason why they can charge a lot of article processing fee, you know, and of course they don't have a coordinated editorial board. So one of the ways to dictate them is checking through their editorial board. You need to be sure that it's not only one person in Alaba in Lagos that has organized that journal. It could just be one person. Okay, so and that's the reason why we need to be very careful. You know, they want articles submitted and published. That's what they just say. We'll submit today, and you get acceptance letter in 2 or 3 days. So no rigorous peer review process. Now I want to say something about the peer review process. You know, most times when you write an article, you know, and the article is novel, because of the novelty of the article, even though the author has not written the article very well, the editor is interested in the work. The editor says, okay, author, take back this article, rewrite it. The author returns the article after rewriting, and the editor says that, see, I'm interested in this article, but it has not measured up to the standard of a journal, of the reputation of the journal. So that is what we are talking about. In predatory journals, they don't do that. They don't want to, quality is dumped in the dustbin. So these are some of the reasons why you call them predatory journals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. I also want to chip in this, you know, for early career, maybe graduate students too, it may not be easy for you to begin to publish in those high impact factor journals immediately, Elsevier, Springer, them. I always advise my students, instead of going for all those backyard journals, why don't you start with your faculty departmental journals? At least those ones you're sure of who the publishers are and you're sure of the quality. By the time they review your article 1 or 2 times and be able to publish, then subsequently, you can give those high impact factor journals a trial. So start from the known, the ones you are sure of their quality, instead of going to all those backyard journals. So our time is fast spent and we don't want to leave any question unattended. We are trying as much as we can to make sure that all questions are attended to before our time is up. I can see 2 hands up, but before then, let's take a question from the chat box so we don't leave any side unattended. Okay, this question from Mercy, I think they've already, our panelists have answered that while attending to other people's question. You're asking how can one correct an article that have been published, which the author realized might have more than the acceptable plagiarism index. I think that has been discussed. Then from Helen, how can someone do a personal check before sending to the department in case you are running a program? Which is the best anti-plagiarism software? Is there any best? I think our panelists have mentioned a lot of them that are good that we can use. I don't think there's one that is tagged as best, but we have some that are good. Or does any of the panelists want to say something on that too? Okay, so we can go ahead. From Fabi, if words are written verbatim from a book and is cited according to the citation from the book, would it be regarded as plagiarism? Please, can any of the panelists attend to that?
No, so far it's cited. So
right.
I think so far it's cited, it wouldn't be plagiarism, properly cited.
Yeah, thank you very much. What should be the standard percentage of similarity index? What is the acceptable percentage? Maybe for journals, for institutions. I know institutions, they have different percentages for doctorate program, for master's program, for undergraduates. So please, can any of our panelists speak to that question? What should be the standard percentage of similarity index?
Okay, I'll suggest you strive to get below 10%, if possible, less than 7%. The fact of the matter is, if you really do the work by yourself and you actually write it and you try as much as possible to cite, or to reference whatever you are getting from somebody else, there is no way you are going to have a high similarity index. Most times I don't even use these plagiarism checkers unless it's a work, I author with some of my students. That's where I have fear and we say, okay, send it to turn it in or send it to something and get us the report. But most stuff I write myself, I don't even, pass it through because I know that I sit down and write this thing by myself. And when I do my literature review, I make sure that, I reference all the papers consulted. And I know my style is somehow unique to me that I don't really have that kind of problem. But when you collaborate with people, especially young people coming up in academia, then send it out and continue to revise until you get to as low as 15–10%. That's my advice.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Okay, let's take a hand up. Can we hear from Anwuli Odieka? Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Anwuli, unmute yourself and ask your question. Please just go straight to the point so we'll be able to attend to all the questions before our time is up. Anwuli, can you ask your question, please? You have the floor now. Okay, while we're waiting for her, can we take the next hand up, Kufre Abasi? Can you unmute yourself and speak? Kufre Abasi, please unmute yourself and speak. Not still talking. Can we take the next person, Omoju? Please unmute yourself and speak. What's happening?
Dr. Oluwashola Omoju, please unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself
Ask your
and speak.
question. Oluwashola Omoju, you have the floor now.
Okay, I think
Right.
the host is supposed to unmute us first before we're able to unmute ourselves. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the presenter. I think I just want to raise a very important issue. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, I think I just want to raise an important issue with respect to this plagiarism, particularly in the use of the software. We need to actually understand what exactly are these softwares actually picking. That is very important. I have an example. During my PhD thesis in China, I think one of the procedure, I think at some point they have to run your thesis through, I don't even know which of the software they use. Then for my thesis, it picked 25%. And then they called me to look at it. And funny enough, when I look at them, I don't agree that, in fact, at the end of the day, they accepted. I did not agree that those things were plagiarized because the software was just picking like some commonly used terms in that field. I'm an energy economist. The software was just picking, if I write energy consumption, carbon emission, anthropogenic climate change, the software will pick it. So when I brought this to their attention, like these are just normal words. I can't change them. These are the words that are used in the field. So they have to agree. So we just need to pay attention to exactly what the software is actually picking, because the software can tell you 30%. But at the end of the day, you actually still need, and human beings still need to look at what exactly is going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Moju, for that contribution. Thank you. Can we have the next hand that is up? I think the host, please help us to unmute Dr. Dauda Aken. Can you please unmute him to speak?
Okay, thank you so much. Hello? Am I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a contribution and follow up to what is just being said. I think that is the reason no institution or journal is requesting for zero. The point of some regular words, even sometimes P less than 0.05 will be picked. At test of university will be picked. That's why what I've seen recently, an average journal we take less than 25%, not 7, not 5, really. And universities as well, even in Nigeria, universities as well, I think the worst I've seen, I think is about, is it 20%? Nobody is even taking 15 or 10 or thereabout. Because some of these things are expected. They are words that we continue to use. And as long as they are not substantial, then it's not a problem. And that's why nobody will tell you 0%. There is still a percentage that should cover those common words. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, that's why it's also good when you have the plagiarism checker, when you run your work through them, you actually take time to look at the report, because they give you this report and highlight all those words that make up the percentage. So when you look at them, it will tell you whether you actually plagiarize or it has picked those frequently used words. So I think the report helps you take care of all of that. Can we please have Anwole, please unmute her. She was the first to put her hand up. Unmute her, please. Let's have her contribution. Anwole, are you still there? Please go ahead. You can speak now.
Hello, can you hear
your
me?
Contribution? Yes, yes, please go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I just need an advice from the prof. I have a review paper already published, but now I am writing the literature review of my thesis. Now, should I just copy what I have in the published review, the information I have in the published review to my literature review for my thesis, or if I should copy, I should also cite myself. What do I do?
Thank you for the question. Our panelists, please, can any of you attend to her question?
Okay, I want to attempt the question now. I think what you are going, if you do that, what you are doing is what we call self-plagiarism. And this is still unacceptable. I will advise that you do accurate paraphrasing. Okay, you have written, yes, I will advise you do accurate paraphrasing while writing the literature review or the introduction of your thesis. Thank you. Don't copy verbatim.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Maybe I can add something, which sorry, is a bit different from what Professor Adefega said. I think it's possible to use that review paper as your literature review chapter, but you need to acknowledge it. Because I know in some institutions where you write, you earn your PhD, your degree by publications. So some chapters are standalone articles. So you could have your chapter 1 as introduction, chapter 2 could be a published literature review, chapter 3 could be one publication. Number 1, you don't use the camera-ready version in the thesis. You just use your manuscript, but you acknowledge somewhere in the beginning that chapter 1 has been published in this, as this, but it is still your work. So that is possible. But I think it might also be subject to what your institution allows. Your institution might say, go and paraphrase. Your institution might say, you can use it as it is so far you acknowledge. So there is no one size answer to it. It might depend on your context, but it's possible to use it as it is with appropriate acknowledgement. Yeah, that's my perspective on that.
Thank you very much, Doug. I think that's suggestion is very important. We need to know what is acceptable in our institution, because what is acceptable for us in our own institution may not be acceptable in another institution. So we need to really understand and study the guideline in our different institutions. Let's have this contribution from Ezekiel Abraham. He said, this presentation is timely and important. It should be revisited from time to time. Importantly, universities should design a course on plagiarism to guide category of students. Thank you. I think I like that last sentence. Maybe some of these general courses that we do, I know some institutions are already adding it, maybe not as a full course, but as a module in some of these general courses because of the importance. So it's something we can also take home. Our universities should design a course on plagiarism to guide category of students. The next question on the chart, I'm trying to look at the questions to be sure we've attended to all. Okay, I'm just seeing commendations from our participants, thanking our panelists for the insightful and beautiful presentations and timely presentation. Okay, this one says, learned that inclusion of reference during plagiarism test gives high similarity index. How true is it? Please, can any of our panelists quickly say something to that question? Learned that inclusion of reference during plagiarism test gives high similarity index. How true is this?
Yeah, I think it does. So it's best to avoid putting in references when you running it through the checks, because it would pick them. So it's avoid the references and maybe some other preambles that could be picked.
All right. Thank you very much. We have a question. Oh, we have a 300 level student attending this program. This program is actually targeted at early career, graduate students, final year students, but that's good. You are starting well, and you're asking us how you can start your research writing journey at this level. We can say you just keep learning until you get to your final year. You just keep learning, attending some of these programs that will enlighten you on what research is all about. By the time you get to final year, you will be more equipped to attend to your research project. Okay, I think we've taken all the questions in the chat box. So can we have Kazim, please host unmute Kazim. Let's take him and Kufre, then we end the program. Our time is almost up. We just have 7 minutes to go. Please host unmute Kazim Ibrahim. Please, let's have him speak. Can you please unmute him? Unmute Kazim Ibrahim and Kufre Abasi, please. So they ask their question or make their contribution before we close the program.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I don't know if you can hear me, please.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to really appreciate the organizers and the presenters. It's been a wonderful and insightful section with everyone. However, I want to add a few contributions. Publishing in or with high impact journals like Nature and Elsevier, Springer, and the like, I think it's not really a difficult task if only a researcher is ready to commit to the work. There are parts of the journals that would actually accept your work without making any financial commitments, so long as you're ready to spend time in doing work that can actually create impact. And also, I'm a bit concerned about the question that someone asked about copying and pasting, copying exact words the way it is from the original article and referencing. From my own view, from knowledge, I was actually trained that that is plagiarism. I don't know what except otherwise. I was trained that when you copy exact words without paraphrasing into your own word, it is also seen as plagiarism. And after my first publication, or in the course of my first publication, I went through a series of comments from reviewers. And at some point I was asking, why are these reviewers doing me like this? But I understood it was part of the training I needed to go through. And I took time, I took months and weeks to go through all the reviewers' comments one by one. Sometimes I would have to go and ask myself, where is this reviewer from? I noticed some of them were from different countries, different parts of the world, but they gave very, very salient points to the work, which I committed to it and got it done at the end. So I think if one is committed, you can actually publish in high impact journals if you are ready to do a dedicated work. And that aspect of plagiarism, please, I feel if you copy, it's plagiarism. It doesn't matter if you reference or cite the person. If you don't paraphrase it properly, I think it is plagiarism. I don't know. I would also need clarification on that, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kufre. I think our panelists have spoken about that. You need to paraphrase. You don't copy into word to word. It's plagiarism. You need to paraphrase. Then, while we talk about people maybe starting from maybe your faculty, your department, we have undergraduate students here, and you will agree with me that it will be difficult. It will not be easy for an undergraduate to just begin to publish with a Springer and all of that. So sometimes when they try that, they get a lot of frustrations. So it's good. Learning is a process. You start from step 1, get to 2, then you get to 3. If you want to jump step 1, 2, 3, and just get to 5, it may be frustrating, and at the end of the day, you may even lack the motivation to continue. So for our final year undergraduate students, you can start from your faculty, your department, those journals. Learn from the reviewers there, then you progress from there. Before you get to your doctorate, you'll be able to publish in any journal across the globe. Thank you. Let's have the final comment, final one from Kazim. Please unmute him and let him speak. Host, please unmute Kazim Lawal Ibrahim. Can you please quickly unmute him?
Yes, he can unmute himself. It's like it's not there.
All right. All right. Okay. It's like it's not there. So before we
moderator, just one comment, please, before we I just wanted to respond to
yes, we will give you opportunity to say something before we say a final goodbye.
Oh, okay.
To our audience. All right, so before we have 1 minute each from our panelists to give us their final word, please, I just want us to appreciate them. You can do it with a wave of hand, use the reaction, just do something. Let them know that they are appreciated for this wonderful interactive session. Yes, that's good. I can see it coming. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you, our professors, for the time spent here this evening. I can see it coming. Please let it come more. Appreciate them. Appreciate them. I want to see more. Just a wave of hand. Just use the emojis to appreciate them. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you, the panelists, for this very, very insightful interactive session this evening. So before we finally hang up, please let's have each of our panelists give us one final word. We'll start from Dr. Adegun, please. Can we have your final word in 2 minutes for the audience?
I'm not sure I would even spend 2 minutes, but just what I wanted to say was to Kufri Abasi, and also to just say the issue of discipline. Quoting a word, it's not in itself plagiarism. For example, if you're in the humanities and you are quoting historical works and you have to lift it. In fact, when it's more than 40 words, you indent, but you cite the source. So we need to be aware of what obtains in our disciplines, in our institutions, so that we can completely avoid plagiarism. We can be free from the cancer in our career. Yeah, thank you. And all the best to all of us.
Thank you. Be free from the cancer. Plagiarism is cancerous. Run away from it before it will destroy your reputation and your hard-earned work. Oh, thank you very much, Doctor, for that. Can we have our associate professor, please? Give us your final word. Professor Adefaya, are you still there, please? Can we have some final word from you? Okay. Can we take from Professor Asiolu? Please, can we have some final words for you?
Okay. Yeah. I just want to agree with the last remark that quotation is allowed depending on context and discipline, because it generally depends on what you are referencing. Yes, it's always good to paraphrase, but there are instances where you just have to, put something verbatim. The important thing is to acknowledge the source. My final word really is that once you know the meaning of research, it shouldn't be too difficult. That you are just researching, okay? You are going through what others have done before and trying to see where you can make your own addition or contribution to it. That is to knowledge. So cite what is your foundation and build on it. With that, everybody will be okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. Can we have finally have the chairman of the Talk to Your Professor committee give a vote of thanks and close this session? Our audience, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Dr. Akintayo, please, can we have you? Unmute yourself and speak. I can see you're on.
Thank you so much, my moderator. Our time is fast spent, and we thank God for the success of today. It's like this topic came to time, going by the contribution from the participants, apart from the panelists. And, you know, plagiarism is of concern in academia, and is liable to theft of intellectual property. And it's responsibility of every one of us, both students, researchers, and lecturers, to avoid this because of its lasting impact on our career. It taints our academic integrity, and it makes us to be substandard as a scholar. Please, guys, no accidental plagiarism. If you are plagiarized, you plagiarize. Nothing is accidental in plagiarism. So please, because by the time you are facing the consequence, they won't allow or listen to you that it was accidental. So please, let's try to avoid it. And our panelists have given us a lot of tips on how to avoid it. But when Professor Adegu was talking, all those live examples he gave really serve as eye opener. And please, let's learn from other people's experience and what happened to them so that we will not be a victim. I want to thank everybody. In fact, I'm so happy this topic was discussed extensively and we made justice to it. Professor Ashaolu, thank you so much. I know your forthcoming inaugural is going to be top notch with what we have seen tonight. Thank you so much for doing justice to that topic. My dear brother, Associate Professor Nii Adifega, thank you so much. Thank you for making us to learn tonight from your wealth of experience. And all those points that you have reached is going to be evergreen in our memory. And we are going to put it to use in our career. Dr. Adegun, thank you so much. I really appreciate all those life experiences, all those life happening. So that, because when you're running plagiarism, we thought it's just an hearsay, it's not something that is real. But bringing out those live examples really open our eyes to it. Thank you so much, my brother. I also want to thank the TTYP committee member from our dear moderator. We are going to recommend you for CNN one day. Thank you so much for that beautiful moderation. Our able secretary, Dr. Rotimi, thank you so much. Dr. Detokun, Dr. Aminu, I really appreciate you all. Without you people, we cannot achieve this. I cannot do it alone. Thank you for those selfless sacrifices, methane upon methane. Thank you so much. To NYAEC, under the able leadership of Dr. Howard, thank you so much for giving us an enabling platform to serve the academy. And to our dear participants, I know you have picked one or two things today, and it's going to be very useful to you in your career and your future endeavor. Thank you so much. And as we will be coming your way on the next edition, which will be the 6th edition of TTYP, we want to say bye for now. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Our audience, thank you. We are hanging. You can just unmute yourself, say thank you, give us a wave, and you can take your leave. Thank you, thank you. I hope you will be here for our next edition coming up in the next quarter. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your active participation. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and bye.